Subscribing to The Observer on YouTube couldn't be easier, and we're going to show you exactly how to do that. First, navigate to www.youtube.com/TheObserverNJ. Once you get there, all you need to do is hit the subscribe button. Next to the subscribe button, click the down arrow and then all. And that's it. You're subscribed, and now anytime The Observer is live, you will be notified. Hi again, everybody. It's Kevin Canessa coming to you live from the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com on this, the 30th day of September in the year 2025. Sure hope you're enjoying your Tuesdays, no matter where it is you are in the country. Nice day here in the Northeast. Let's see. It's 77 degrees right now. And a little bit later on in this broadcast, we will hear from Tony Mondaro from the Harrison Weather Center. We recorded our segment last night in order to play it for you today. Tony's working during the day now, so he can't make it live, so we're going to record each and every week our segment with Tony. And as you do each and every Tuesday, you welcome me into your home so that I can bring you this week's news. And there's a lot to get to today, and a lot of it is not about what's happening in the paper this week necessarily. But I want to start off with this because I was speaking with Melanie earlier, and she reminded me that last night 2 teenagers were killed on e-bikes in Cranford. There was also another youngster who was killed in Scotch Plains just last week. A total of 4, I think, altogether now we're up to. Deaths involving children who were riding on e-bikes and who were not properly helmeted and weren't following the rules necessarily. Now, I don't know for sure whether that's the case in Cranford, whether the kids in Cranford were following the rules, because they haven't said anything about it yet. But generally speaking, if you're, let's just say you're in Kearney and you're driving around for any particular reason, you're going to see kids who are riding around on bikes without helmets. You're going to see kids going against the flow of traffic. It's just a reality that this is what's happening. But what people need to remember is that at least here in Kearney, there are some consequences for not following the rules of wearing a helmet and going with the flow of traffic, not riding on the sidewalk. In fact, the rules that were just passed not too long ago, in this calendar year, I believe it was, the parents also take some culpability for any issues that happen if they're not properly helmeted. If they're, in fact, they go so far as they take the bikes away and they don't get returned. So I guess the whole point of this, in looking back at what happened in Cranford last night and last week in other parts of Union County, and it's horrifying. And the last thing we need is to see something like this on one of our streets. It happened a couple of years ago where 2 kids went flying on the hood of a minivan. They were both on bikes, no helmets, riding in tandem. We're only supposed to have one person on. So it's just so important that we keep an eye out on kids when they're in the road. It's just scary how quickly they just dart out sometimes and don't even pay attention. But let's not become a statistic. That would be the last thing we need. And such a shame that 2 teenagers in the prime of their lives just last night, once again, this time in the township of Cranford. Now, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk to you about a bunch of things that are coming up on Saturday, this Saturday, October the 4th, from noon until 5 p.m. at Lyndhurst Town Hall Park. It's their annual car show. Now, if you've never been to an oldies car show, this is a really great one to go to. It's a nice-sized crowd, but you're not going to be overwhelmed. There's a lot of cars, too. In fact, so many this year that they've expanded it, almost doubled the amount of space that they're giving to the cars to come out on display. So head on over to the area of Lyndhurst Town Hall Park between noon and 5 on Saturday, October the 4th, and you'll have a good day. Plenty of food available and things for the kids to do, plus the cameos will be playing too on the stage, so you'll be able to see that too if you like the cameos, and who doesn't, there will be plenty for you to do. Now, this is coming up on the 1st of November. We still got a ways to go, but just in case, the Kearney Belleville Elks are putting on a blood drive, and that will take place on November 1st at the First Presbyterian Church of Arlington. If you are so inclined as to donate, just pause the video right here, take that QR code, and you can register there, or there are website directions where you can go to register if you don't have a phone with a camera where you could take the picture with a QR code. So don't forget, that is coming up too. Also, on October 2nd, that is 2 days from now, October 2nd, from 6 to 8 p.m., the Kearney Fire Department is putting on its annual open house right outside of fire headquarters, which is 109 Midland Avenue. The vehicle extraction demonstration is fascinating if you've never seen one. The sprinkler demonstration I have not seen, I don't think, but the fire hose station is great for young kids and adults as well, who get a chance to try out one of the hoses, and you feel the strength. I did it a couple of years ago. Lisa and I both did it on a Saturday when it was on a Saturday afternoon, and those hoses are heavy, and the pressure that comes out of the hose is really something. So at the open house, if you bring the kids along, they'll be able to use the fire hoses as well, all in a day's work from 6 to 8 p.m. Head on over to the fire headquarters and take a look at what the fire department has to offer. I want to thank Chief Joe Mastandria for sending that to us the other day. Thank you very much, Chief. Now, this is upcoming too at the Scotts. The 2025 Oktoberfest. This is always a fun day, no matter what. It's Saturday, the 25th of October, over in the backyard. They're going to do it outside. Tickets, as you can see on the screen, are $30. There's plenty that will go on. Hot dogs, brats, hamburgers, and all sorts of German beers for your ticket price right there. So mark that down on your calendar and go enjoy a very fun day over at the Scotts. Now, this is coming up tomorrow. Mina Ecladius, the president of the Kearney PBA, is doing this business leaders luncheon from noon until 3 o'clock over at the Arlington Players Club, 12 Washington Place. So it's a very good opportunity if you're a business owner in Kearney, or doesn't matter really where you're from, to network with other business owners and things of that nature. And Mina has put this together a couple of years now, and last year was very successful, and this one should be too. We'll be there tomorrow during the course of the day to cover the event, and so if you are a business owner and you'd like to participate, it's still not too late. This takes place tomorrow between noon and 3 p.m. And I want to thank Mina very, very much for the work that he put into putting this together. It is something to behold. Now, coming up, I'm just going to put this up on the screen real quick. We're in the middle of Hispanic Heritage Month, and there are tons of events that are going on in the town of Kearney. If you take a look here, you can pause the screen and see where all the dates are for this. If not, you could also find things on Facebook as well, but there are so many things that are coming up in the next couple of weeks. So get a chance, get out there and support some of these great events that are coming up in the next 2 weeks. So we're already on October 1st, so we're really halfway through Hispanic Heritage Month, but I do know there is a lot that you'll be able to do in the town of Kearney over the next few weeks. So check that out when you get a chance. And just briefly, I want to tell you a little bit about this Viking Academy. I had a chance to go over to visit the Viking Academy last week for the first time. It is an extension of North Arlington High School for students aged 18 to 21 who have maxed out on their high school time, but who are not quite ready yet to go into the real world and do things on their own. It's people who have disabilities are involved in the program. And for over a decade, Stephen Yurchak, the superintendent of schools in North Arlington, has been dying to get this off the ground. And now here we are. They took the old field house, which was the Queen of Peace High School field, and then Veterans Middle School field. They completely renovated it and turned it into an apartment where all of of the students will go. They'll be doing their own cooking. They'll be doing their own shopping. They are taught how to use public transportation. All these very practical things that you might not even think of when you're talking about getting into your 18, 19, 20 years of age group. So the Board of Education, along with the superintendent, were able to pull all of this together. And I spent an afternoon over there, met some of the great kids who are involved in the program. They really are. They're not kids, but so I shouldn't really say that. But the truth of the matter is there's so many things that are happening during the course of the day in this academy. And I want you to read about it in this week's edition of the Observer, because they really were a great bunch of people all together. And I'm talking like from the teachers to the paraprofessionals to the children, the kids who are involved, the youngsters who are involved in the program. It's really going to be a model, I think, for other districts. And I think that's sort of what they had in mind in North Arlington. They took their ideas from a couple of other schools that are doing similar things, but the way they're perfecting it is nothing short of spectacular. So get a chance, read it. It's on page 1 of this week's edition. And I want to thank everybody who was involved over at the North Arlington Board of Education, starting with Steve Yurchak, the superintendent of schools, and working all the way down to everybody else who was involved. We have 2 pages of classified in the back of the book this week, so please check that out when you get a chance. If you're looking for a place to rent, if you're looking for a job, whatever it is, check it out. You'll find it in the classified section. And Jason Bernstein has 3 sports stores, including an athlete of the week this week. So please check that out when you can. All right, that's going to do it for me, but I am going to now turn this over to my buddy Tony Mondaro. Once again, we filmed this yesterday, and without any further ado, I'm going to send it right over to Tony. So just bear with me for 1 second. Here's Tony. Hi again, everybody. It's Kevin Knessa coming to you from the home studio today with my dear friend Tony Mondaro, who's here to talk about the weather. Hello, Tony.
Hey, Kev, how are you? How you been?
Not too bad. Listen, the Mets season is over. To hell with them. I want to think about them for another 6 months, maybe even longer, depending on how things go this off season. But it's always good to be here with you talking about the weather.
Absolutely. And let's go Devils now.
Yes, exactly. It's hockey season now. So,
absolutely. Yeah.
So how are we looking this week?
Not bad at all. If you like the cooler weather by tomorrow, it looks like we'll be cooling down. With high temperatures in the 60s and lows in the upper 40s and perhaps the low 50s. That goes through late in the week, and then a slight warm up over the weekend keeps any rain or even tropical weather away, as that huge area of high pressure, Kevin, act like a block. The block Humberto and also Amelia to keep both of those systems well offshore. By a lot of our global models, by Tony Mondaro here at the Harrison Weather Center, didn't bite on some of his social media, mainstream media madness on trying to bring these systems up the coast. It was just not going to happen.
As it stands right now, we don't have to worry about either of the 2 storms that may come this direction, right? Because I did read somewhere they said something about the southeast, but not us.
Right, and the southeast will get lesser of a chance of now the heaviest rains and strongest winds as the storm will be pulling offshore. The southeast, thankfully, Kev, will only, if anything, will only get fringe effects, and maybe up the Cape Hatteras south. You know, they'll have some rough surf down there too, with high rip currents. But as far as our sensible weather here, we look like we're in pretty good shape, thankfully.
The month of August began, you made a prediction, and you said that you thought it was going to be a cooler than normal August. It most certainly was. September a little bit, right? September a little bit different. What are we looking for in October? Is this going to be a cooler than usual month, or is it too early? Have you not had a chance to look at that yet?
It's going to be seasonal, Kev, and seasonal, with high temperatures in the, 60s and low temperatures in the 40s. It looks like a seasonal bump for October. Might get a couple of warm spells, too, still. In October, you could still get into the 70s, and sometimes in early October, even 80 degrees. Right now, it looks like we're on the cooler trend there. Now, let's see what happens in the winter. Now, my gut feeling, and this is no science behind this, but just taking a look at the averages, I really do think that we're due for a pretty rough winter with cold and snow. Now, how cold we get and how much snow, the average here is 28 inches a season. And believe it or not, our snow season already started already. That started back in July. Our snow season, for some unknown reason, goes from July to July. So we think that we are going to be above average this year, and nobody should really be surprised as the last 4 or 5 years we've been
Right.
either at or well below average. So we're due for the big one.
Let's talk about that a little bit. Sometimes every year the Farmer's Almanac comes out and they come out with these crazy predictions. Do you know anything about that? Like where does that is that even based on science when you hear these predictions that are like way out and not even close to the time, saying that this is going to be the most wicked winter that we've had in years? Yours is based on speculation because it's just been very, very mild for the last couple of winters. But what about these people that go out and say every year this is going to be a wicked one? Is that based on anything?
Be honest with you, there might be some science, some long range modeling. A lot of it goes with the El Nino and La Nina phases and these what we call positive oscillations and negative oscillations of the atmosphere, much deeper than what we get into here at the Harrison Weather Center. We're just trying to get it right for the next week. We don't have to really worry about that beyond, that forecasting is very important for future forecasts. In the futures, if you're doing stock for crops or anything like that, that's very important work. But even then, it's really a crapshoot, whether or not, those forecasts verify. I know here as a forecaster, we're taking a look long range for hurricane prediction, winter storm prediction, and we go out to maybe 10 or 14 days, the modeling that we see here. But we're really not going to commit to anything unless the models lock onto something. Now, just imagine if you're making your money as a long range forecaster, what that can mean. That's really a crapshoot here. Like I said, we have it hard enough trying to pin down a snow forecast 3 or 4 days out. And sometimes, you have to use common sense because, hey, Kev, I'm a snow lover, but if I forecast it with my heart and not my head, we'd be in big trouble.
Right, and that's of course something that you have always prided yourself on is being accurate over necessarily first or dramatically. Some of those other wackos that do it in such a strange, bizarre manner. But if you're just joining us, Tony Mondaro of the Harrison Weather Center is here with us today. What else is going on in the world?
Nothing much, Kev. Doing our and just following these storms. Even though they're not going to affect us, both of those systems, we've been watching them really religiously since even before they formed. We're watching the Atlantic Basin to try to give the people that we serve on Facebook and also on our private client consulting side the edge up. Was, why should we going out there and making hurricane preparations if none's coming? We try to really stay on top of that when we can, and sometimes that could be a challenge.
Here, next couple of days, a little bit cooler. Then it starts to warm up as we get closer to the weekend. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of what you were saying.
No, I think you're there. Yeah, absolutely. Cooler. The temperatures in the 60s, which will be nice. Overnight low temperatures in the 40s to and low 50s, and then a slight warm up over the weekend. And the big thing is we remain dry, and we are still in a slight drought. Looking at the drought index, and I think that'll start to perk up as we get deeper into fall. I think we'll get more opportunities for rainfall.
It is always a pleasure. I always enjoy getting a chance to spend time with you. Let's do it again next week. How's that sound?
Have a great show today.
Thanks, everybody. Talk to you later.